The moment most people realize you have money, they stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as access. Access to help, access to status, access to what you have built. Wealth often attracts more opportunists than opportunities. That is why, when you are rich, telling no one is not paranoia. It is protection. My name is Mila, and I'm obsessed with the small moves and hidden nuances that build real wealth. Today, we are talking about something most finance content completely skips. We are talking about what happens after you build the money. Specifically, what happens when other people find out about it. The moment other people know you have money, your financial life stops being only about money. It starts being shaped by how other people react to it. Their assumptions, their expectations, their needs, their projections, and sometimes their intentions. That is the real conversation we need to have. Visible wealth carries hidden costs, not just financial ones, but also relational and emotional ones. And if you are not paying attention, those costs can quietly chip away at everything the money was supposed to give you, including your peace. So, let us get into the reasons you should be part of the stealth wealthy. People who have money, but make it very difficult for others to know their true net worth. And there are 5 costs that make this decision not just smart, but necessary. 2 relational, 2 financial, and 1 emotional. And I promise by the end of this, a lot of things are going to start making a lot more sense. Cost 1, social repositioning. The first cost is relational. And it shows up in 2 distinct ways. First, in how people around you behave, and then, more painfully, in how the people closest to you start to change. We will get into the second part in a moment, but let us start with the room. The first thing that shifts when people know you have money is not your bank account. It is the energy around you. And I do not mean that in a vague, abstract way. I mean it literally. The way people speak to you changes. The way they position themselves around you changes. What they ask for, what they assume, and what they expect you to be able to handle, all of it shifts. And most of the time, it happens so gradually that you almost do not notice it until it has already reshaped your social world in ways you did not choose. What is actually driving this is something researchers who study social comparison theory have documented for decades. When people see visible wealth, a lot of them do not respond with simple happiness for you. Some do, but many respond with comparison, with projection, with quiet repositioning. They start measuring where they stand relative to you. They start recalculating what your friendship is worth to them now. They start seeing you differently, not because you changed as a person, but because the number changed. And this is not people being uniquely terrible. This is people being wired. But you are the one who has to live inside the consequences of it. And the consequences are more disorienting than people expect, because it is never dramatic. Nobody announces that they are treating you differently. It is the cousin who used to call just to talk, now only calling when something is needed. It is the friend who used to celebrate your wins genuinely, who now gets a little quiet when good things happen for you. It is the colleague who used to feel like an ally, who now seems to be keeping score. None of these people would admit to any of it. But the pattern is there, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The painful irony is that visible wealth can make you feel more alone exactly at the moment your life is supposed to feel better. Cost 2. Doubt inside. Close relationships. The second cost is still relational, but this one is quieter, and honestly, it is the one that stings the most. When people know you have money, sincerity becomes harder to read. And I do not mean with strangers, I mean with people you actually care about. Are your friends, your family, someone you are dating? You start asking yourself questions you never used to ask. Does this person actually want to be around me, or do they just want to be around my life? Would they still show up if the money was gone tomorrow? And once that question is in your head, it does not just leave. It sits quietly underneath your closest relationships and changes how you receive love. You become a little more guarded, a little more watchful, and the warmth that used to come naturally starts to feel like something you have to be careful about. That uncertainty follows you into new relationships too. You meet someone great. They seem genuinely interested, but somewhere in the back of your mind, the question is already forming. Are they choosing me, or are they choosing my lifestyle? And when you cannot answer that with confidence, it becomes really hard to fully open up to someone. That is what visible wealth can quietly do to intimacy. It does not break your relationships overnight. It just puts a thin layer of doubt over all of them. And that doubt, over time, is exhausting to carry. And that is just your relationships. Because visible wealth hits your finances too, from two directions, from external targeting and internal conditioning. Cost 3. Financial targeting. And that doubt we just talked about, it is not just emotional. Because alongside the people you cannot read clearly, there are also people who have already read you perfectly. They know what you have, and they have plans for it. This is where visible wealth stops being a relational problem and starts being a financial one. And this cost has layers. So stay with me. The first layer is entitlement. And this one is painful because it almost always comes from people you already love. When wealth becomes visible, some people in your circle, friends, family, sometimes both, start to feel like your money is partially theirs. Not openly, not in a way they would ever admit out loud, but you will feel it. It shows up as a loan request that is never really framed as a request, more like an assumption. It shows up as the relative who gets genuinely offended when you say no, as if your boundary is the betrayal and not their expectation. It shows up as the friend who quietly stops contributing when you are around, because somewhere along the way, it became understood that you would handle it. The entitlement does not announce itself. It just slowly makes itself at home until saying no starts to feel like an act of aggression. The second layer is fake people, and this one comes from two directions that are worth separating. The first direction is the people who were already in your life, or on the edges of it, who suddenly reappear once the money becomes visible. Old friends who went quiet for years are back. Distant relatives are calling more. Someone wants to collaborate. Someone has an idea and just needs a little backing. Someone wants to introduce you to someone who could really change things for you. And because these people come wrapped in familiarity, your guard is naturally lower. You want to believe the intention is genuine. Sometimes it is, but sometimes you find out who they really were much later, usually after it has already cost you something. The second direction is social media. And this one is important because it expanded the problem in a way that did not exist a generation ago. When you post your lifestyle, your home, your car, your vacations, your outfits, you are not just sharing with people who know you. You are broadcasting to people who have never met you and never will, but now feel like they know enough about your life to approach you. Strangers slide into your messages with pitches, requests, and opportunities. People who have been watching your page for months show up feeling like they already have a relationship with you. Social media turned visible wealth into a public advertisement, and not everyone responding to that advertisement has good intentions. The third layer is overcharging. And this one is quieter, but very real. When your financial position is visible, your home, your car, your general lifestyle, service providers price accordingly. Contractors, vendors, anyone operating in a space where pricing has flexibility will anchor higher when they sense you can afford more. You are not always paying for better service. Sometimes you are just paying for being known as someone who has money. And the frustrating thing is, it is almost impossible to prove. It just quietly inflates the cost of your everyday life without you ever being able to point to exactly where it is happening. The fourth layer is scams and bad investment schemes. And social media has made this worse than most people realize. Scammers no longer have to find you, your profile does the work for them. A visible lifestyle is essentially a public signal that there is real money to access. And once they have identified you, the approach is sophisticated. The pitches sound credible, the people delivering them seem legitimate, fake investment opportunities, crypto schemes, business proposals that look almost real, all of it targeted specifically at people whose visible wealth made them worth pursuing. The Federal Trade Commission has consistently found that people with visible wealth are disproportionately targeted for financial fraud. And it is not about intelligence or carelessness. It is purely about exposure. And then there is the final layer, security. And this one is the most serious. Visible wealth makes you a target in ways that go beyond your bank account. It affects how safe you feel, how you move, and how vulnerable your home and your identity become. We have seen this play out publicly and painfully with NFL players, athletes whose visible lifestyle made them specific targets for armed robbery. Jewelry, cars, social media posts showing locations, all of it was used against them. And these are not careless people. They were simply too visible for too long in the wrong environments. All of this, the entitlement, the fake people, the overcharging, the scams, the security risks, none of it is random. It is all downstream of the same thing, visibility. And the less visible your wealth is, the smaller your surface area for every single one of these becomes. Cost 4. Status maintenance spending. So, we have talked about what other people do to your money when they know you have it. Cost 4 is different, because this one is not about what other people take from you. It is about what visibility does to your own spending decisions. And this one is sneaky because it feels like free choice. It rarely is. The moment your wealth becomes visible, an unspoken standard gets set around you. People now have a version of you in their heads: what you drive, where you eat, how you show up, what you are willing to spend. And even if you never asked for that standard, you feel the pressure of it. Because the moment you show up in a way that does not match that image, the modest choice, the cheaper option, the decision to sit one out, people notice. Sometimes they say something, sometimes they just get quiet in a way that is worse than words. And over time, without fully realizing it, you start making spending decisions based on that image rather than your actual desires. Behavioral economists call this status maintenance spending, and the research shows it is surprisingly hard to resist, even when you are fully aware of it, because the social discomfort of appearing to have stepped down from your perceived level can feel more painful than the financial cost of just maintaining it. So you keep spending, not because you want to, because visibility created an expectation, and now you feel trapped inside it. It shows up in specific ways. You pick up the tab because everyone at the table assumes you will. You give the bigger gift because anything less feels inconsistent with what people know about you. You book the nicer option not because you prefer it, but because the alternative now feels like a contradiction. Small decisions, repeated constantly, adding up to a number that would genuinely shock you if you ever sat down and calculated it. And this is a big part of the reason we have so many broke rich people. People earning serious money, living in nice homes, driving the right cars, and still somehow living paycheck to paycheck. Still somehow stressed about money despite the income. It is not a discipline problem, it is a visibility problem. Visibility created a lifestyle standard that inflated around them, and now a significant chunk of their income is going toward maintaining an image they never consciously chose. The spending looks like personal preference, but it is really social pressure wearing the costume of free choice. That is not wealth working for you. That is wealth working against you. Cost 5, loss of peace. And now we get to the cost that matters most. Not because it is the largest financially, but because it is the one nobody warns you about before you get there. Visible wealth can take away the very thing you are building toward: peace. I know that sounds contradictory. Money is supposed to create peace. That is literally the point of building it. But when everyone around you knows what you have, you stop just living your life and start managing it. Managing how you show up. Managing what you say and what you do not say. Managing who you trust and how close you let them get. Managing the requests. Managing the image. Managing other people's feelings about what you have built. And that management has a weight to it that is genuinely hard to explain to someone who has not carried it. Jim Carrey once said he wished everyone could get rich and famous just so they could realize it is not the answer. I used to think that was something successful people say to sound relatable, but the more you gain wealth, the more you understand exactly what he meant. Psychologists have documented something called sudden wealth syndrome, and the symptoms are not what most people expect. It is not recklessness or arrogance. It is anxiety, isolation, a slow erosion of trust, a feeling of performing your own life rather than actually living it. People who build or come into significant visible wealth and find themselves more depleted and more guarded than they were before. Not because the money is bad, but because the visibility of it changed everything around them before they had any protection in place. You can have a full account and feel completely hollow. You can have everything you worked for and still feel like you are always one step away from someone wanting something from you. And the harder you work to get there, the more that feeling stings. Because you did not build this to perform it, you built it to finally feel free. So let us talk about how to actually protect that freedom. Specifically, the 5 moves that change, or rather protect, everything you worked so hard to build. Move 1. Keep your financial life private. So now that we understand what visible wealth actually costs, let us talk about what to do instead. And the first move is the simplest, but it is also the one that requires the most intentional decision to actually follow through on. Keep your financial life private by default. And I want to be clear about what that means. Because privacy is not the same as shame. It is not pretending you do not have money. It is not performing struggle you do not have. It is not hiding your success because you are embarrassed by it. Privacy is a strategy. It is the deliberate decision to let your wealth work for you in the background rather than perform for people in the foreground. And here is why this is harder than it sounds. Because social media has completely normalized financial oversharing. And most people do not even realize they are doing it because everyone around them is doing the same thing. Posting every major purchase, announcing business wins and income milestones publicly, showing the new home, the new car, the vacation in detail, soft flexing, that subtle but very deliberate display of wealth through lifestyle content, tagging expensive restaurants and hotels so consistently that your financial position becomes readable to anyone paying attention. All of it has become content and normal. And because it is normal, it feels harmless. But we just spent the last few minutes talking about exactly why it is not. Every post that signals wealth is a broadcast, and you cannot control who receives it or what they do with it once they do. The entitlement, the fake people, the overcharging, the scammers, the security risks, all of it starts with someone seeing something you put out publicly and making a decision about you based on it. So the move is simple, even if it is not easy. Stop performing your financial life for an audience. Wealth does not need witnesses to be real. Your account balance does not require validation. And the people who genuinely matter, the ones whose love you never have to question, they do not need to know your numbers to show up for you. Privacy is not fear, it is protection. And it is the foundation everything else in this section is built on. Move 2. Delay visible lifestyle. Upgrades. The second move is one most people get completely wrong. And it is honestly one of the fastest ways people go from building real wealth to being quietly broke again. The moment money starts coming in, the instinct is to let your life show it. And I understand that instinct. You worked hard and you want to feel it. But what most people do not realize is that a visible lifestyle upgrade is not just a personal decision. It is a social announcement. And that announcement comes with consequences you are not always ready for. The two most common ones people reach for first are a better car and a nicer apartment. And both feel completely reasonable in the moment. Both feel deserved. But here's what actually happens. A new car comes with higher insurance, higher maintenance costs, and a monthly payment that locks a portion of your income into a depreciating asset before your investments have even started compounding. A nicer apartment pushes your fixed monthly costs up permanently. And unlike a car payment that eventually ends, rent has no finish line. It just keeps rising. And now a significant portion of your income is committed to two highly visible things that are actively working against your ability to build. The expectations get set immediately. The image gets assigned. The entitlement starts. And now you are maintaining a standard that arrived before your actual financial foundation was ready to support it. That is the pattern behind so many high earners who are still broke. The money came in and went straight into performance before it ever had a chance to compound. Let the money work before it starts showing. Build the foundation privately first. And when you do upgrade visibly, do it because everything underneath is already solid. Not because the income just arrived. Wealth built quietly is far harder to lose than wealth performed publicly. Move 3. Build boundaries before people test them. Okay, so let us talk about something nobody wants to deal with but absolutely has to. Saying no. The requests are coming. I need you to understand that. The moment people know you have money, the asks will come. From family, from friends, from people you have not spoken to in years. And the problem is not that the asks come. It is that most people have no idea what their position is when they do. So they are sitting across from someone they love, with emotion in the room and history between them, trying to make a clear financial decision on the spot, and that almost never goes well. This is why your boundaries around money need to exist before you are in the moment, not during it. What does that actually mean? It means deciding in advance what you will and will not do around loans. Because I have watched lending money to family quietly destroy relationships that survive decades of everything else. It rarely stays simple, and when it is not paid back, and often it is not, the damage is not just financial, it is personal. It is permanent. It means knowing your answer to business pitches from people in your personal circle before someone shows up with one over dinner. It means knowing what access to your time and your network looks like before someone starts assuming they have it. And here is the thing I always tell my clients. Generosity feels good when it is a choice. When you give because the situation made it feel impossible not to, what you are actually doing is managing someone else's discomfort at your own expense. And that builds resentment faster than almost anything else. Know your position before the moment arrives, because trust me, the moment is coming. Move 4. Put money into protection and structure. First, move 4 is where we get practical in a very specific way. And honestly, This is the move that separates people who build lasting wealth from people who build visible wealth. Before your money starts performing publicly, it needs to be protected privately. And most people do this completely backwards. They upgrade the lifestyle first and think about structure later. By the time they get around to protection, they are already visible, already targeted, already exposed, and now they are trying to build a wall after people have already seen what is behind it. So let us talk about what protection and structure actually looks like in practice. The first thing is a proper legal structure around your assets. If you have a business, an LLC creates a legal separation between your personal finances and your business liabilities. That means if something goes wrong on the business side, your personal wealth has a layer of protection it would not have otherwise. And if your estate is substantial, a trust is worth understanding. It controls how your assets are distributed, keeps certain things out of public record, and gives you a level of privacy and control that a standard will simply not provide. These are not things for later when you are wealthier. The time to build the structure is before the money is fully exposed, not after. The second is insurance. Real insurance that actually reflects what you have built, not the basic coverage you set up years ago and never revisited. Because one unexpected event hitting an unprotected asset, a lawsuit, a health crisis, a property issue, can undo years of work in a way that is genuinely devastating. And the painful part is that it is entirely preventable. The right coverage costs a fraction of what it protects. The third is having the right people around your finances. A financial advisor and an attorney who know your full picture. Not because you cannot manage your own money, but because protecting real wealth requires people whose entire job is to think about what could go wrong before it does. They see risks you are not positioned to see, and they create structures that keep your wealth organized, protected, and private in ways that are very difficult to do alone. And that word private matters here, because the fourth thing is keeping your financial infrastructure out of public view. Who you bank with, how your assets are held, what you own, and how it is structured, none of that needs to be public knowledge. Structure is not glamorous. It does not make good content. Nobody is posting about their LLC or their umbrella insurance policy, but it is the thing that makes everything else you have built actually sustainable when life gets complicated. Build the protection before you build the profile, because profiles can be rebuilt. Unprotected assets often cannot. Move 5. Let wealth buy freedom, not performance. And the fifth move is really the whole point of everything we have covered today. Let wealth buy freedom, not performance. Because I think a lot of us start building money with a very clear feeling in mind. Not a number, a feeling. The feeling of not having to worry, of being able to say yes when it matters and no when it does not, of waking up and feeling like your life belongs to you. That is what the money is actually for, that feeling right there, but somewhere along the way. And for a lot of people, the goal quietly shifts. It stops being about the feeling and starts being about the signal. The car that communicates success, the apartment that announces arrival, the lifestyle that performs a version of you that other people can see and validate. And before long, the money that was supposed to create freedom is being spent entirely on maintaining an image, which is the opposite of freedom. This is what the stealth wealthy understand that most people do not. The goal was never to look rich. The goal was to live well. And those two things are not the same. Living well is quiet. It is options. It is the ability to move through your life without constantly managing what people think of it. It is peace, real peace, not the performance of peace. So ask yourself honestly, is your money buying you freedom? Or is it buying you an image? Because one of those compounds over time into something genuinely life-changing. And the other one just keeps costing more. You work too hard to spend your wealth performing it for people who are not paying your bills. Protect it, structure it, keep it private, and let it do the one thing it was always supposed to do. Give you your life back. And always remember, luxury is easier when your money is organized. I will see you in the next one, and I love you.